Hey everybody, what's going on? This is Super NGI here, and today I'll be commenting on the match between, or scrimmage rather, between the Feeding Five and combat-trained Pedo Bears. Now unfortunately my recording was not able to get the picks and bans, but luckily I did write them down, so I'll be able to tell you what they were. The Feeding Five banned Kennen, Morgana, and Shen. The combat-trained Pedo Bears banned out Udyr, Ryze, and Warwick. The Feeding Five were the first pick, and they picked Lee Sin. Following that, CTPB picked up Soraka and Maokai. Then Feeding Five chose Misfortune and Janna. Then CTPB picked up Ezreal and Ahri. Then Feeding Five picked up Vladimir and Jarvan. Then CTPB picked up Trundle. Now, with these picks, I feel that the Misfortune pick and the Janna pick were extremely strong versus the Ezreal Soraka bottom, because Misfortune will be able to counteract that Soraka heal along with their sustain. Also with Janna being a very aggressive support, having no sustain, we can see a lot of engagements on bottom. Let's see. Mid lane, I'm not sure. I don't know too much about mid lane, but I think Ahri's poke will give her an advantage over Vladimir, but Vladimir's sustain will be able to keep him in lane. Now for top lane, they both chose very tanky top laners. Jarvan, who has monstrous amounts of free armor, and Trundle, who has a lot of natural tankiness to him, along with a lot of tenacity. So I think we'll just see a lot of passive farming up top. With both the jungles, we have a tanky support jungle versus an AD, more bruiser type jungle. We're going to see a lot of ganks. I'll be interested to see where they start, but here we go. If you want CTB to win this, I'm just kidding. None of you can hear me, because I'm the only one listening. So anyway, so here we are. They're going to head on to their lanes and see what they chose as their first items. As is, usual for most lanes, a lot of them just went boots and 3 health bots, except for the support who went with the charm and some wards. We just see Maokai already getting his charge going, and he's heading towards the Wraith area. Seems like he will start here. They are pinging this top lane, wondering if an engage will come. Feeding Five are down here. They're looking like they're going to have the red pulled, and they're just simply defending right now. Wibble is in a somewhat dangerous position. He clearly has vision of Jarvan right there, but he needs to be careful. As is Feeding Five, their entire team is essentially here, and his is elsewhere. We have what seems like could be an invade coming in from Jarvan, Misfortune, and Janna. They have a sapling guarding that out. They don't want to quite activate it yet. You have Soraka throwing up a ward in here to prevent any level 2 ganks from Lee Sin once he gets that red. They did go ahead and take that sapling away, and they're just trying to screw with his jungle right now, just trying to make sure he can't get any of those saplings in. Right now, Ezreal's pinging the blue, just telling him, just come here. The wraiths are hopeless. And then we have Lee Sin going GG. And that will put Maokai behind, that he wasn't able to start his wraiths or start his jungle early, as Lee Sin is already doing his wraiths with Vlad. And they are going to be a little bit behind, but it shouldn't be that big of an issue. As long as his team's there to help him, which they are, they should be able to help him, which they are. They're giving him a nice pull. Right now, Lee Sin is working on his red buff. It'll be interesting to see where he ganks first. Let's see this. Maokai did pick up his blue. He's not going to proceed through the rest of his camps. And then on to the laning phase. So we already see Soraka heading around here, maybe trying to preemptively ward, but Rationality did not want to go bot. He wanted to go mid. Wanted to get used to that red buff. See if he could make anything happen. Right now there's a ping going down, but we have an engaged mid. He goes in with the Q, he slows, but it isn't enough. Good damage from the Q from Vladimir, but it just still isn't enough to bring her down. It'll take a lot more than that. They know that Lee Sin is mid. They'll know he's probably going Wolves next, so they should be able to passively farm now without too much trouble, without fear of that, because luckily the first Lee Sin gank was not, at least didn't result in a death, which is good. have Maokai working his way to the red buff. Top lane just farming, trading a little bit. Not too much damage on the other side. Using up some health pots right there. Nice Q out from Misfortune, hitting Nuts right in the face, but he has Soraka, so those bananas are in fact OP, and he should be fine. That and he has his Q to passively farm from the back. So as we head into the mid game, I'm just sort of thinking about what's going to happen as he gets to that point. I think this team will have a lot, combat trained Pedo Bears will have a better mid game team, as well as a very strong late game one, but I think their mid game will really shine with the Ezreal, the Ahri, and the Trundle. I think they'll do very good. However, I think as this goes into late game, this Vladimir and this Misfortune are just going to absolutely just blow up. I mean, Misfortune may fall off a little bit late game, but she's still a very strong carry and will be able to do a very good job. So anyway, let's take a look at the CS. Ezreal with 22, Misfortune with 21, so fairly even. We're seeing some aggression there. Whenever that shield hits on Janna, she's just gonna... I mean, whenever that Janna uses her shield, Misfortune's just gonna jump up there and try to get a couple pod shots off. We have Trundle going home. Actually, no, he's gonna stay around. Top, we have 27 to 17 CS, so Trundle is doing a very good job versus the Jarvan, which I thought was actually kind of surprising. We are seeing a little bit of a trade here. Jarvan going in on Trundle and getting some good damage. The Q and the passive doing quite a bit of damage, but not enough to do anything too scary. He's just going to head back now and probably buy him something good. We now have Maokai moving into the enemy jungle, trying to get some sights on Lee Sin, hopefully trying to gank this bot lane that is, in fact, very, very pushed up right now. And they might be able to kill this Misfortune. She is very low. They're going in right now. He's exhausted. He comes in with Arcane Flash. Here comes the Tornado blocking out Soraka. Here comes the Maokai suppression, but it's still not enough. But here comes the flash in from Ezreal. It's still not enough to bring her down. And now they're taking tower hits. And there comes the Misfortune slow to prevent them. And Soraka taking a huge amount of damage from that. But now they're in danger because now Lee Sin is coming in. And the Soraka is still vulnerable, and so is Tangy Scott. So they need to get out. And the first blood goes to Lee Sin, to feeding 5. So that is unfortunate how that happened. It just seems like they just could not get to Misfortune. Well, they could, it's just they couldn't get enough damage off. It just wasn't enough, and all those loopholes and all those things that they have bottom lane are really helping them. But up top, we're seeing Trundle get a little aggressive on Jarvan here, making him recall here. But the bottom lane gang, they just couldn't get enough damage off in time, and just all those escapes that bot lane has, I mean, the heals, they have the Janna Tornado, they have the flashes, they had everything, and just with the support just taking too many tower hits right there, Velnoth kind of fell to his Q, and that Q just does so much when you get too low. So let's take a look at mid lane here, 30 to 39. So Ahri's doing a little bit better. Her poke is really allowing her to clear the creep waves a lot faster, and she is pushing into that lane. Let's look at the jungler CS. We have 29 on Lee Sin and 27 on Maokai. So they're doing fairly well. They're staying with each other. This is a very even game, even though the first blood did in fact go to feeding 5. If you actually look at the global gold, the combat trained Pedo Bears are actually slightly ahead. So as long as they play a bit more passively here bot lane, make sure just Soraka stays back and just heals, they should be fine. But we see Maokai coming into the enemy jungle, Lee Sin looking to gank, he's coming into the mid lane, the Q barely misses. It looks like they're just going to go back. Let's take a look at the items here. Misfortune has 2 Dorans, and Ezreal has not gone back to shop yet, though he is ahead, so he will have a nice bit of money to spend. He right now has about 1,600, and Misfortune only has about 400. He's going back to buy. She has about those 2 Dorans. That's going to really help her with her sustain. That extra health, that extra lifesteal will greatly help her. Yet, even though with Misfortune, with those heal debuffs, she's still doing a very, very good job of harassing down Ezreal, who is very, very fragile. Oh, he has hypers. We see Maokai traded off the blue to Ari. That'll be good. It'll allow her to spam more. And now, as we hit about around 9 or 10 minutes, we may want to see some movements towards Dragon. We already see Soraka placing a ward in the river to just track enemy movements, see if any ganks come, or just to see any bot lane movement to the Dragon. But around 9 minutes or 10 minutes is about when you want to see a first Dragon, at least an early one. That's typically what you see. With Vladimir going back. We have Wibble there with his triple Dorans, and Wibble's making sure that he can't go back just yet. So you go back here to top lane, 46 to 72. He's doing an extremely good job versus that Jarvan, but we have a gank coming in mid. He has the red buff. We have the slow from Vladimir into the pool. We have Ari coming back, but she uses her ultimate to escape. She's going back in for a little bit of damage to get the Q off, but she uses her ultimate to get away safely anyway, and she's back at her tower. She's safe. She'll be fine. You see that Ezreal did, in fact, go back to base and buy himself a BF sword. We see Trundle up here throwing his ultimate on the Jarvan right there. We have a ping going down here from feeding 5. Let's look back up here. It seems that they're always they're just really pushed up a lot of the time from what I can tell, and it's just, I think that largely in part is due to the fact that they're extremely aggressive late. Misfortune and Janna. You're seeing that Kiswick here is getting really, really aggressive. He's not afraid to just get up there and just take a couple shots. Wibble doing a very good job of just keeping his lane pushed and keeping Vladimir backing away. 60 CS to 77. He does have his ability rod, so that is actually quite a bit of AP. He's rushing what seems like to be a very quick death cap, or it could be anything. It could be even Zonia's, which I don't really see because this is not an extremely high armor team. But we are seeing movements towards Dragon. Combat trained Pedo Bears are in fact pinging it. We have a teleport coming in from Trundle. We have mid lane coming in while they're distracted at blue, so they might get this for free. So, as far as I know, they have no knowledge of this going on. John is about to here to check, but this is the first Dragon goes to Janna, and we might see an engage here. We see Ezreal coming in with the arcane flash, getting aggressive. We have Teisa coming in with the suppression. We have the Janna ultimate going off, the Ezreal ultimate going, trying to do as much damage as possible. The flash comes in, and it saved Janna. And now it looks like they're going to be hovering around this bot lane, trying to see if they can go, but they back off, and they decide that that's enough. Very good job getting that first Dragon. It was perfect timing. Jarvan and Lee Sin were getting the blue buff at the time, and they had no knowledge that the Dragon was going on until Janna poked her head in and almost died. So very, very good by Combat Trained Pedo Bears, making sure they keep it as equal as possible, even though they gave first blood. They're still doing an extremely good job, just keeping the farm up. Oh, and apparently I just missed that. I wasn't even paying attention. Apparently, seems Alex here must have come into the enemy jungle and killed the Lee Sin, so good job on him. Making the kills one-on-one now. We're going to have a very scary Ari as we head into this good game. We're seeing that really hard just harass from Vladimir, just keeping that sustained. Ari needs to be careful there. She's having to use one of her summon spells, having the flash, the Vladimir going after her. And he gets the kill. Playing a little bit too aggressive there, really like, but here comes Kenny Scott to hopefully pick up this kill. There goes off the ultimate. He's trying to get as many damage spells off as he can. Meanwhile, up top, we're seeing an engage go on, but he's still continuing.